Welcome to the Compact History podcast from compacthistory.com, where we unpack the past in smart, snack-sized episodes. This is episode 105, The History of Gardening. For as long as humans have cultivated the earth, gardening has been a mirror of civilization itself. From its roots in ancient necessity to its blossoming as a form of personal expression, gardening reflects shifting cultures, technologies, and values. The history of gardening is not just the story of plants, but of people and their relationship with the natural world. Gardening likely began not long after the advent of agriculture around 10,000 years ago. As early human communities transitioned from nomadic hunter-gatherers to settled agriculturalists, they began cultivating small plots near their homes. These early gardens provided essential food and medicinal herbs. Archaeological evidence from sites in the Fertile Crescent, such as ancient Mesopotamia, shows the organized cultivation of crops like wheat, barley, and legumes. In ancient Egypt, gardens were both practical and symbolic. Tomb paintings from around 1500 BCE depict walled gardens with rows of date palms, grapevines, and vegetables. These spaces also included ornamental pools and geometric layouts, suggesting a growing appreciation of aesthetics in addition to utility. Egyptian gardens were often associated with the afterlife, reflecting beliefs that such spaces provided sustenance and beauty for eternity. The Greeks and Romans developed gardening into an art form. In ancient Greece, gardens were extensions of philosophical and intellectual life. Influenced by the idea of balance and harmony, they often featured groves, shaded walkways, and statuary. The Academy of Plato was set within a sacred grove, emphasizing the garden as a place of thought and contemplation. The Romans, meanwhile, expanded on Greek traditions with lavish villa gardens. Wealthy Romans created courtyards, called peristyles, filled with exotic plants, fountains, mosaics, and sculptures. Gardens were places of leisure and luxury, designed to demonstrate power and taste. Pliny the Younger's letters offer vivid descriptions of his gardens, which were carefully designed to frame scenic views and create calming environments. Roman agricultural manuals, such as those by Columella and Varro, also document techniques for productive kitchen gardens, known as horti, which provided vegetables and medicinal herbs. Thus, Roman gardens bridged functionality and indulgence, forming a blueprint for future European styles. With the decline of the Roman Empire, many classical gardening traditions were preserved by monastic communities. In medieval Europe, monasteries became key centers for horticultural knowledge. Monks maintained gardens for food, healing herbs, and spiritual reflection. These were typically walled, symbolizing protection and order, and followed a quadripartite layout inspired by Christian symbolism. The Capitulare de Villis, a 9th century decree by Charlemagne, listed plants to be cultivated on royal estates, offering insight into the diversity of medieval gardens. These included culinary herbs such as sage and rosemary, fruits such as apples and pears, and flowers such as lilies for ecclesiastical decoration. Islamic gardens of the medieval period, such as those in Persia and Al-Andalus, Muslim Spain, embraced a different vision. Influenced by Quranic imagery of paradise, these gardens featured water channels, symmetrical layouts, and lush greenery. The Alhambra in Granada exemplifies this style, combining architecture and landscape in harmonious splendor. The Renaissance brought renewed interest in classical learning and aesthetics. Italian Renaissance gardens emphasized symmetry, proportion, and human control over nature. The gardens of the Medici family, such as those at Villa Castello, combined geometric designs, terraces, and elaborate water features. These gardens were outdoor theatres of status, culture, and intellect. In France, This style evolved into the grand formal gardens of the Baroque era. The most famous example is the Gardens of Versailles, designed by André Le Nôtre for Louis XIV. These gardens stretched over thousands of acres and featured axial planning, parterres, fountains, and avenues. They were a manifestation of absolute power and control over the landscape. Meanwhile, the Dutch Golden Age in the 17th century saw the rise of more intimate, functional gardens, including orangeries and greenhouses. The enthusiasm for collecting rare plants, particularly tulips, led to the infamous tulip mania. Botanical gardens began to emerge as institutions of scientific inquiry and public education. In the 18th century, England rejected rigid symmetry in favour of naturalistic designs. Influenced by Enlightenment ideals and Romanticism, designers like Lancelot, Capability Brown and Humphrey Repton championed the English landscape garden. These featured rolling lawns, serpentine lakes, scattered trees, and strategically placed follies. This style aimed to imitate and idealize nature rather than subdue it. It was partly a reaction against the excesses of French formalism and partly inspired by pastoral paintings. The landscape garden became the dominant mode of garden design in Britain and influenced parks and estates throughout Europe and North America. The Industrial Revolution brought both technological advances and a new middle class eager to participate in gardening. The Victorians embraced gardening as a respectable hobby and a symbol of moral virtue. The rise of public parks, supported by reformers like Joseph Paxton, provided green spaces in rapidly urbanizing cities. Botanical exploration reached new heights as plant hunters brought exotic species from around the world. Glass houses and conservatories became fashionable, culminating in structures like the Crystal Palace. The Wardian case, a sealed glass container, allowed delicate plants to be transported across oceans, dramatically increasing the diversity of European gardens. Victorian gardens often featured carpet bedding, floral clocks, and ornate cast-iron ornamentation. They reflected a love of colour, order, and display. At the same time, working-class families began cultivating small allotment gardens to supplement their diets, laying the groundwork for community gardening traditions. The 20th century saw a diversification of gardening styles. Modernist designers like Gertrude Jekyll in Britain and Roberto Burle Marx in Brazil blended artistic sensibility with horticultural expertise. Jekyll's use of colour theory and natural planting patterns influenced cottage garden design, while Burle Marx's tropical modernism celebrated native species and abstract forms. The ecological movement of the 1960s and 70s brought a new awareness of sustainability. Native plant gardening, organic methods, and wildlife-friendly gardens gained popularity. Rachel Carson's Silent Spring highlighted the dangers of pesticides, prompting a shift towards environmentally conscious gardening. Suburban development, especially in the United States, led to the rise of the private backyard garden. Gardening became a leisure activity for millions, supported by television shows, magazines, and garden centers. Wartime victory gardens reappeared during World War II, and even again in modern times as urban agriculture and food security regained importance. In the 21st century, gardening continues to evolve. Urban gardening, vertical farming, and hydroponics address space constraints in growing cities. Community gardens foster local food production, social connection, and education. Technology now plays a role in garden planning, with apps for plant care, irrigation systems, and design visualization. Climate change has also influenced gardening practices. Xeriscaping and drought-tolerant planting are becoming more common in water-scarce regions. There is a growing emphasis on pollinator gardens, rewilding, and regenerative practices that support biodiversity. Gardening is increasingly recognized for its mental and physical health benefits. During the COVID-19 pandemic, a surge of interest in home gardening revealed its power to soothe anxiety, provide purpose, and foster resilience. In hospitals, schools, and care homes, therapeutic horticulture is gaining recognition as a valuable healing tool. From ancient necessity to modern mindfulness, the story of gardening is deeply entwined with human progress. It is an art, a science, a lifestyle, and a legacy. As we face the challenges of the future, gardening remains a hopeful, grounding practice that connects us to the earth and to each other. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Compact History, part of the Compact Histories network. You can find more episodes and explore our other Compact shows at compacthistories.com. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, follow, or subscribe. And if you'd like to support the show more directly, why not consider buying us a coffee at compacthistories.com/historycoffee. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.